We are live, and as always, thank you guys for coming. This is the XAFers Community Stand-up. We do it the second Thursday of every month. It's the vacation day for our company. I know we have a weird vacation concept, but this is the time that we just get to share our experience with the community, talk about what we like, what we love. And today's topic is really special because last meetup we already break a SAF myth number one that the UI was not customizable, and we are still getting more screenshots from the community that I will be adding to that post. But today we're gonna have a different approach. We're gonna talk about performance. Some other break is that SAF you cannot have really performance application with SAF, and I guarantee we're gonna break that myth today as well. So when someone else tell you about this, you just refer to this video, to this community, and of course, as always, feel free to ask as many questions as you have. We have Dennis here with us, so thank you, Dennis, for showing up, for participating in our community. So he will be answering questions on the chat as always, as well as Manuel, Jose, and myself will be here for any question that you guys have. As always, I always say that there is no formal dress required. Beer is encouraged. Let's just talk about what we like. Before moving forward, as always, I want to encourage everyone to join the community. We have our meetup that, of course, if you are here today, you know about it, but we have our LinkedIn group. We have our Facebook group that is 805 members this month. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining in. Please follow SAF on Twitter. If you want to know everything that is happening, the new announcement, the new support, the new documentation, this is a great place because we are going to get here everything we need. I think that I didn't miss it. Subscribe to SAFer Weekly to get interesting links about SAF, and join the community, the Gitter channel. Gitter channel, I would like to have more presence. I think that we only have like 39, 40, even if in Facebook we have 800. So everyone who is watching this, please join here. There is a lot of great conversation happening here. And one of the best examples is one of the SAFers from the community, Dom Sinclair. Let me show it here quickly. Okay, Dom Sinclair, he is sharing actually a context help controller where he go about how he's implementing help feature in his application. So this is the type of things that I really love to see: community interacting themselves, community helping himself. So please feel free to join. There is a great conversation right here. There are Dave, Manuel, Dennis, Jose, everyone is answering questions, everything is collaborating together. So please do it. So for today, let's get to the point of what we have today. What we have, as always, I can't forget, we are part of the .NET Foundation user group. They always ask us to say this. If you want to see really nice events about what is happening in the .NET ecosystem, go there. There are a lot of events every month. I think that there are too many that you cannot keep up without your work and actually following everything that's going on. Only for Xamarin last month, there were like 8 conferences, something crazy like that. But it is a great place to get nice information and to be up to speed on everything that is going on. So for now, let's, as always, I'm pretty sure that everyone here knows the speakers, but I would like Manuel, Dennis, and Jose to introduce themselves. And still, and meeting people. I love seeing people showing up here, even if they can watch it later on YouTube. We're gonna do a quick announcement. Go about everything that is happening in SAF. We're gonna talk about the testimonials that the SAFers have provided about the performance. And I want to say again, thank you all the SAFers for sending us a screenshot about UI customization. Thank you for sending us all these testimonials of SAFers about performance. This is just a highlight of my month, of my day. So we're gonna talk later about performance in general, data access mode, N+1 issues that on the ORM. We're gonna talk about ways to go about not loading all the data, XP view, XP query, data view. We're gonna talk about the profiler. We're gonna get every question that you guys come up with that I can wait for them. And we're going to definitely break the myth that SAF is not performance. I guarantee you, we have seen SAF application with excellent performance. You just need to know how to modify. Is SAF already take care from you of all these low tasks, UI generation, database creation, everything, and you are able to fine-tune the UI, to fine-tune the performance? Maybe I'm biased, but I don't see a better way to produce light on fishing application. This is amazing. So from there, I think that we're good to go. Manuel, please introduce yourself, then Jose, then Dennis, and then we can start.
I'm Manuel. I'm a DevExpress MVP since a lot of years. I have no idea. Same talk as every time. Uh, did a lot of work in XAF, but not only in XAF, in all the .NET space. And I'm a long-term XAF and XPO user all over the place, whatever .NET technology or Microsoft technology, that are the best. Yeah, and read my blog. There is a lot of interesting stuff. I think we will see a little bit of that today. And so I will hand over to Dennis.
Thank you, Manuel. My name is Dennis. I work for DevExpress. I'm a product manager for the XAF team. Thank you for the opportunity to present here today.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. My name is Joche Ojeda. I'm part of Bitframework and Sari, and also at the Express MVP. I mean, we do code every day, every single hour, so that's why we're here to talk about. Okay, who's perfect. Left? I mean, oh, Javier, your turn.
No, okay, perfect. No, again, I'm the newest MVP, like 3 days ago, and I'm so proud, so proud, and so excited to be able to say that I have followed Manuel, Jose, Dennis, Dave, Adam, Martin for so many years that being able to have this space to discuss what we like and we love is a dream come true. So with that out of the way, I want to quickly just say thank you for everyone again who provided a video about performance optimization done in SAF. It's amazing to see the community helping us out here. I want to thanks especially. So if we see the videos here, Keith is one of the SAFers who provide the video, and he's here on the chat. Jean Paul, he provided another video. Hey, thank you guys for being part of the community and helping us to prove that chat performance is good when we understand how everything is happening, how the data access work, how SAF is doing everything. Because again, one of the base safe about SAF is that is completely transparent. We can see the source code, we can see how things are being implemented, and we can use that in our advantage. So with that out of the way, I want to say everyone who provided a video about SAF performance optimization, they will get a free SAF course. So I know, for example, that most probably Jean Paul or maybe even Keith, they don't need that. But if someone in your company, your developer or anything need that course, feel free to send us an email and we will include it, because we want to, again, we are thankful for you guys helping us out and providing this example, because we want to show the world what we already know, that SAF is a great framework to develop line of business applications. So again, thank you everyone. Right here, thanks Alejandro, he's in Spanish, but whoever, for the SAFers who speak Spanish, thanks for the testimonial. Thanks everyone. And right here is our humble report from Jose and me. So let's just quickly talk about this quickly. This is a great example that we have about the performance of some calculations that were being done. And right here we can see how big the improvement is, from like 3-4 minutes to like couple seconds. It's instantaneous. We can also see here a real, and I love to see real life application done in SAF like this one, that is an animal rescue example. So thank you, Keith, where we can see that you have a lot of pictures, you have a lot of reports, and how the performance get improved. Right here, Alejandro, he has a crazy calculation that I don't know exactly what is happening here, what he's doing. You have to be some NASA calculation or something, but it was taking like 12 hours, and he was able to reduce it to 30 minutes. Right here, we can see, and we will see this today, the difference, like when you know when to pick the right access mode, how really make a difference. We see a list view that it was taking 6 minutes to take 4 seconds. So that's a big improvement. And right here, we have another example for a client that we have a few years back, where Jose and we did some optimization, and we have loading 65,000 records with a lot of relationship, with a lot of collections, really fast, really instant. And we actually showed that we have another list view with like 56 records, that it was taking longer. Longer is still acceptable, really fast, really thin, but it put you to think, like, if you know what you're doing, you can get really big loading records application loading really fast. So with that out of the way, I'm going to pass the control to Dennis. He is going to present a few topics that we want to highlight about everything that is going on in XAF right now, everything in XAF Blazor, everything going on, and then we move from there. So Dennis, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you're free to start sharing yours.
Okay. Okay, can you see anything?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to highlight a few interesting links to documentation, updated knowledge base articles, examples, and share some tips and tricks that may help you with XAF development. So let's start from the model editor and .NET 5 support. As you probably know, we previously published a knowledge base article about this topic, and as you know, the model editor is currently in preview because we have not yet finished our improvements. And it's currently supported for .NET Core 3.1. But it's as you know, .NET 5 was released recently, and it's still possible to use the model editor with .NET 5 applications. For example, with Blazor applications. And for this, you just need a small trick. If you go to the DevExpress installation folder, you can find this runtime config.json file, and you can just make a small patch to it. Here's the code, and this patch will help you run the model editor for .NET 5 projects. For example, here I have a Blazor project. It targets .NET 5, as you can see, and I can now execute the model editor. So I want to emphasize that .NET 5 itself, it requires Visual Studio 16.8 and newer. So it will not work for 16.7 or something. So be ready to update and be ready to use the model editor. I also want to share that we just that things basically work, and we are just finishing our functional testing for all the scenarios, because there are thousands of them, and we also want to work on performance for the .NET 5 version, because it still can be improved. So, for example, here I have to wait some seconds, so it can be better. What else? About the model editor, I also wanted to share the information that we have fixed an issue in the recent update 20.24, and this bug fix it solves the problem that sometimes when you invoked the model editor, some business objects could be missed. So please upgrade to the latest XAF version and experience a better model editor. Okay, let's continue about Blazor. As you probably know, we have some new documentation, and we We also have this knowledge base article in our support center. We update it almost every week because our tech writers create new interesting help topics. We also get updates from the support center. We also get updates from Jose, Hoche, Emmanuel. For example, new videos, you can see all these links here. For example, recently our tech writers added some interesting articles about accessing property editors in detail view. You can see how you can use this customized view item control extension to access the model of Blazor control and customize it in C#. There is also a new example for the grid control. Similar approach. You override the onView controls created method and access required list editor and updated properties. So it's all good, old good XAF. Also, I want to encourage you to check these videos on Hoche's channel or Jose's channel, because guys, unless I'm mistaken, they upload new videos every week or every 2 weeks, and this some interesting stuff. By the way, I forgot to share a link to this recent support center ticket about grid control customization. It shows how to customize total summaries using the approach I described earlier. So you can, I will share all the links in the chat so you can access them later. What else? Here I also want to promote our team blog. We try to post news every month. Here you can see some interesting article about Azure deployment. There are also links to recent videos by Jose and Hocher about electron.net. So feel free to follow our XAF team blog to get latest news about XAF. Maybe some questions so far about these topics, maybe. Okay, let's go. This news is about the DB updater and Blazor. Some of you might have noticed that DB updater is no longer used for Blazor apps. We decided to simplify this process, and now the application itself can update the database because it's a regular console application after all. So you just take your Blazor executable and pass parameters as you did with DB updater for .NET Framework. We have published a new article on this where you can see complete information. Now I wanted to share some interesting tricks and that I use myself when I code, and they help me a lot every day, and they helped me in the past. The first trick is about learning through source code. Microsoft recently added their experimental feature to the release version of Visual Studio. It's this feature is it's about accessing decompiled sources of libraries, even if you don't have their source code at your hand. And it's helpful for learning. For example, you are lazy to go to the DevExpress source code or to Microsoft source code, and you can just go to navigate to required sources via F12. So I just go and press F12, and I can see all the sources, for example, in our DevExpress Express app Blazor library. And it's helpful because you can see how we wrote our built-in editors, controllers, and you can learn new practices. You can compare your code with our code and maybe find some mistakes or best practices. And as I said, I use this feature every day when I code. Also, I wanted to share a link to our support center. When you submit a new ticket, let me wait. Internet is not good today. Sorry. When you submit a new ticket and when you specify XAF, we have added some tips and tricks that will help you get faster and more accurate responses from our support team. For example, if you face some error or your application crashed, you can click this link and it will navigate you to our popular article about collecting code stacks, error message text, and also log files. And this information is almost, it's a must-have for any error you have. And it will help our support team, and in many cases it will help you. If you look at it, it will help you figure out what's wrong in your code. There is also a link to some UI customization tips. This is also quite popular article where we explain who is XAF for, and we also share some customization, typical customization tasks and solutions, and we clarify required knowledge level, some give additional links to documentation. And here you can see just top, the most popular customization tasks, and figure out how to proceed with your own task. There are, as you can see, there are links to some case studies from our customers who implemented some of these customizations. So I hope you will find it helpful. And the latest link is about performance tuning or troubleshooting. We have another popular article in the support center, and it just contains typical cases and typical mistakes and solutions. So this stand-up is about performance, so we will talk later about performance today. Okay, any questions, comments about this?
If you don't have it right now and you have it later, just put it on the chat, and Dennis or self will get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And some news for, not about Blazor, just For this one will be interested for our WinForms customers. As you probably know, in 20.2 we have released a new asynchronous data loading mode for the grid list editor initially, and now this mode is also supported for the chart list editor and pivot grid list editor. The idea of this feature is that if you use the client data access mode, you can improve your application, improve experience of your end users by providing more smooth interactions with your forms. For example, if you use a data grid and you click a record, double click a record to open detail view, it will show first it will show a nice loading window, and editors will detail view will open smoothly. It can be helpful for heavy objects, and this feature, as you probably know, it can be configured in the model editor by setting a property. What else? Also,
Hey, Danny.
I want
on the chat, they are asking, is the async loading also planned for server mode?
for server asynchronous server mode, you mean, or what?
Gustavo, feel free to clarify.
It's very useful for us to enable asynchronous data loading for server model view, because we use not too much client mode, because we have thousands of rows in every this view. So it's a must for us use server mode.
Yeah, and I understand. For such scenarios, we have, as you know, we have asynchronous server mode. It's called instant feedback, and there is also another mode, instant feedback view, and we haven't planned to add additional modes to those two.
I have a few experience on using asynchronous server mode, but it was too slow for me. It was slow, even compared with server mode. The asynchronous, I don't know exactly name, the
instant feedback view.
Instant feedback mode, yes. Is visually slow on the server mode in my cases.
Can I just a few interruptions here? Of course, if you add asynchronicity to the loading process, of course there is some overhead. But over the user experience should be better using instant feedback mode, especially if server mode is blocking. So you can't speed up things that aren't speed upable or aren't that fast because there are limitations. Of course, there's data transfer, all that kind of stuff. But the asynchronous load in XAF for the client access is just improving the user experience. And this is and it's the same thing with instant feedback mode. It's just data flows later in and UI draws. And I think there is no point in going into draw the UI first and then fetching data from server mode, because especially that's the thing that instant feedback mode is trying to solve.
Yeah, this instant feedback mode is about user perception, and in your case, I would recommend you try to test the instant feedback view. It's a it's a server mode version of data view. So maybe it will help you because you can specify only required properties. So it's a projection of your data, not entire object graph. So maybe it will help. If it doesn't help, feel free to contact our support team and we'll see what we can do in your particular scenario. Okay, my last item just can't help sharing it with you because for me it was looked like an interesting scenario. We have a customer who has the following situation. He has designed his security role and permissions on his machine and on his local database, and he faced a requirement to import this local data to his client database, and he could not recompile his application to, for example, supply additional data in module updater. As you probably know, we have a nice example that creates this module updater class automatically. And this example didn't work for this customer. And I just crafted quickly a solution that allows a customer to dump his local data into XML file, then take this dump and send it to client and just import it from the client machine and save to the production database. It works with the help of XPO in-memory data store that allows you to save data into XML file and also then copy data into a real data store. Okay, I think
That's awesome. I use something like this all the time. This is such a time saver, or it's like an anchor. If you are in mid of a project and you need something like this, and the client calls, this is gold.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear. And the customer also liked this option, and he also further improved it according to his requirements. He, for example, unless I'm mistaken, he patched this XML file and removed data he didn't need.
Yeah.
So check it out. Maybe it will work for you too. Well, I think that's it. Once again, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
No, thank you, Dennis, for the presentation and for joining with us today to being here. So I'm going to stop your sharing for a second. I'm going to share my screen and we'll go from there. Let me. Okay. Okay, I think that I'm missing here. No, this one. Okay. So a few things. And let me just pull up the chat because there were a few questions on the chat. I want to be able to see them as well. Just give me just 1 second. Okay, first thing, Gustavo or anything else who asked a question, if we don't answer completely or if you still have doubt, feel free to ask again, or if not, as we say, reach out to us anytime. We're happy to go more in deep, to go more, to talk more about this. We love to talk about stuff. So things that I want to say, I really enjoy, and actually I have it here. If you see, I have it in one of my links here. the example that Danny was showing about exporting and importing role permission and runtime. I think that there is a really neat solution there. And this is one of my to-do lists to make a video about this, but I want to also encourage the community. So every time that, because I really love DevExpress support. I really love DevExpress controls and everything, but I also know the resources are limited. They cannot do a video, a visual of everything that they have. They put an example and they have really great documentation, and every time it's getting, if you see the documentation from Blazor, is every time more rich, it's getting a lot better, and we have more documentation. But I think that as a community, we should collaborate together, and we should improve that as well. So if you see one of these articles, if you see one example and you have some time and you want to test it, or if you already tested because you need it for your scenario, do a quick video, do a quick article, share it with the community, because that way some people that are more visual, because for example here, unless you actually put this in your code and run it and see, you don't know exactly what's happening. Do it, share it with the community. That this article is actually in my to-do list to test it and show it to everyone and how it works, because I think that will really allow us to bring more people in the community to show everything that we have. So please, everyone who is here in the chat, everyone who is watching later, if you have to test for your company, for your software, one of these examples that are already in the documentation, do a video, do an article. Let's share the knowledge. With that, out of that, I want to say a few things about the whole presentation that Danny has shown us. And again, thanks, Danny. The first one is really great to see about the model editor. Right now, I was having a project in Net 5, but every time that I need to use the model, I was moving back to Net Core 3.1. So I can see the model. And then in Net 5, I wasn't able to see it. It's really nice to see that I now can use Net 5 with the model editor. Our next meetup, we are thinking of doing some, this is our idea, is SAF Blazor ready for production? This is our next meetup topic, but if you guys have another one, please feel free to give suggestions. We want this to be an event for the community, from the community, and getting into the last things that we are using. Gustavo has a question on the chat as well, and Dennis, this is for you. So, and I share these questions because, for example, myself, I am one of the XAFers who read the support center every day with my coffee in the morning, and sometimes I have read the Blazor FAQ 2,000 times. And it's true what he's saying. Is there a way to know what is the new things that we add? Because a lot of time we are reading the whole article again to see if there is everything new. And even sometimes we miss it. We don't know what is new there. Is there some time that we can know what is the new change? I read it every week, but I agree. Maybe, Dennis, we don't have an answer right now, but just something to think about. It will be nice for us to see what is the new addition, what is the new thing, because again, I'm reading everywhere, and sometimes we don't know exactly what it had changed.
Yeah, I actually wanted to share my screen to answer. Because,
okay, let me stop quickly.
I prepared the answer.
All right, nice.
I'm not sure whether it's what you are looking for, but at least I want to share. As you know, you can you see?
We can.
Now I can see, yeah.
Yeah, you can go to our support center and you can specify required products, for example, XAF and XPO. Then you can also specify like example or knowledge-based article. And here it shows all the latest edits. So, for example, this article about model editor, this article about server, about Logify, and other articles. I know that some customers use this option very often and find it helpful. For example, also to see known issues to save time.
I use that all the time. The thing is, I think the question was, is there a way to see the differences between For example, the KBs and
I got you.
FAQs between the last edit and the previous one.
No, unfortunately, no. It's not supported for the Center.
Yeah,
I understand what you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that was the question. All right.
Okay. Sorry.
That was exactly the question, because again, like I have read the FAQ from Blazor a lot of times, and I always I'm trying to see if there is anything new. I go there and I say Blazor FAQ. I open it. Okay, I should have not done that way. Blazor FAQ, and it should. Sorry, FAQ. Okay, it will put it there because I see it every day also. So I can start reading here, and I know because I read it every day. But for example, if we add a new section like this one, I don't know this one, I have to realize, okay, this, I think that this wasn't there before. There is no clear indication this was added, and I understand that it's not. But again, that will be a nice to have, not a must to have, but really a nice to have. So. Let me see. I think that we have.
Yeah, I understand. And currently, we try to also try to promote the most interesting topics in our teamwork, in social media, and so you can also follow these sources to get the latest news.
Yeah, and I have a friend, Dennis, who say that I don't follow you. I pursue you all the time. So it's like I'm trying to see everything that is going on new every time. But I have to agree with Gustavo here that sometimes, because I have read this so many times, I won't come back to this unless that I see, for example, on the, as you showed, that updated a day ago. And then I come here and I'm trying to find, okay, what was updated? What is the new thing? What is, it's not clear. That's it. But that's it. That's nothing else. So let's move forward. It's just suggestions. If we can get something like that, it will be nice. I also want to talk about Electron. Dennis mentioned that. That's a really nice choice. And you can see the video that Jose have about showing Electron on Mac, on Linux, on Windows. And I'm really excited about Blazor. Blazor, I think that is the future. But not only that, we are planning to do something like this for English, but if you speak Spanish, we have a couple of videos about using mobile Blazor binding. And if we can dream a little bit in the future when Blazor WebAssembly is mature enough that we can use it on SAF, I'm really excited at what we will be able to do with native applications. So just a thought, nothing on the few months in the next few months, but it's a great thing to think about, like what we can do with those mobile Blazor bindings. About reading the source code and everything. So again, as I was telling you before, I encourage everyone. So if there is a new article like this on the Blazor performance lookup property editor that we didn't have a new action, it was loading all the records at the same time, or even this one about importing roles, permission, everything. If you have to test it for your company, please make a video, make an article. But my question about here is, reading the source code pays so much. I want to show quickly a solution that we have here. So
there's one thing I just quickly want to throw in here. Noxa, because Martin made this ticket. And we all know there's the GDPR stuff and all that kind of shit with regulations. And I hate those kind of regulations because, of course, DevExpress needs to lock down the support center, especially for privacy reasons. If you submit a ticket, please, for us MVPs, please make this ticket public. They can't do it public by default because of law, but please do it public. I make every ticket public if I can, if there isn't confidential information in there, but please make the tickets public. I encourage you.
Yeah, I support you. It's very
Yeah.
good point. I
thing-
also ask people to make ticket public if
Yes.
possible.
One thing that I want
Helps.
to add there, just one thing. Don't be afraid to ask a simple question. Don't be afraid. We are not here to say you don't know anything. We are here to learn together, to support each other. So I read Twitter once that it was saying something wrong is not the problem. Someone will, and Manuel have told me sometimes, hey, this is not the way to go to this one. I don't take it personal. I fix it, I learn, I move forward. What it cannot happen is that you are being afraid of making a mistake and you don't share your knowledge and you don't go out there. So don't worry about it. We are here to learn together. That's the only way. Join the community. We can work together. We can do things together.
Absolutely agree.
And Jean Paul is asking on the chat, can we win a prize for the most public tickets? You talk to Dennis about that. They can maybe put something together. But definitely, public tickets, share your knowledge, learn in public. Don't be afraid. We are all here to help each other, not to like say I know more than you, I know less than you. It's not like that. Again, it's just about working together and growing the ecosystem together. So quickly, we were talking about reading the source code. I just want to share quickly, and this will be just a second. If you see here, we have a solution that it has the DevExpress Express App Blazor project right there that we are referenced together so we can see the code and everything. And if you see, we have the lookup that didn't have a new action or anything, and we were just playing, and we put a button there so we can actually create a new option and put it in the lookup and everything. So when you read the source code, when you see what's going on there, and Jose can back me up on this, you can do your own things, even if the DevExpress, because DevExpress, they need to make sure that their solution works for everyone, that they can support everyone, that they can. But for us, if we need some specific case just for one a specific scenario, reading the source code is so helpful because it gives you best practice. It gives you, okay, maybe this is not ready right now, but we can do it ourselves. And this example, for example, we won't share this solution because, again, there is already a custom property editor here that you can use, that it has a new action. You can do a quick single selection, everything. So this is not, or this should not be the way. But my point is, if you read the source code, you understand how everything is doing, and you need it on your product before this official release, you can put things together. And this is the perfect example. If we see here, we have, okay, we are not going to say anything. We have Jose and Javier. And if we see on our lookup, we have Jose and Javier, but let's say we need another one. We need Manuel. We can do it right away. That's the power of reading the source code, of seeing how they're doing, seeing that you can try to see, okay, this is the best way of doing things, and move forward. Let's close this, and let's not get too out of the way, because we want to do performance today. So let's discuss performance. That's the main point of today's. And last thing, Dennis talk about the link of DevExpress for newcomers. I think that is in the end. Or is something close here? I think that I'm missing. Hey, Dennis, maybe this is a suggestion. I don't think that is so discoverable. Now that I'm doing it right here, I think that it was.
Go to the top and to the right.
To the right. Okay, right here. I wanted to show this. Okay. We have that discussion about the SAF development is the middle between a completely from scratch team of software developers and a codeless development like Microsoft Dynamics or something like that. And SAF gives us all the modules ready to go, all the configurable. But I just want to say that in the, and I'm not, so I also want to say that we cover that specifically in the video that we did about overview about SAF. And not only that, for the Spanish people, and I know that I'm Spanish, I try to not never leave our community behind. We also have that video here in Spanish. So if you have someone asking, should I use SAF, should I use XPO, please refer them to that link, to the video on English, to the video in Spanish. Let's make them sure that they before making a decision on how to develop their next line of business application, they have every requirement that they need, every piece of information. So with that out of the way, let's get into the topic of today, performance. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, I have two solutions here, and of course, quickly, don't forget to watch all the videos that the community has provide to see the optimization doing that. But let's see a few things. First thing, let's talk about data access mode, and let's run this solution. The first thing that I want to show here, in the updated, we are using the bogus nugget package to provide fake data. And we are doing, if you see here, 1 million records, and we already have in that database 93,000. So let's run it for a second and let's see what we have here. Let's do a quick demo of all the data access modes so we know when to use each one. And Jose Manuel, feel free to add anything when I'm showing this. And then we are going to show like when we don't want to load all the data at the same time. Let's use XP View, let's use XP Query, let's see all of those. And then Manuel will present the N+1 problem that is one of the biggest things in the ORM world. So first thing that I want to say, we went to the app config and we add the XP03 so we can see the queries. We want to see what is being generated by the framework. So right here, we have our customer table, and we have, again, we generated 1 million records and we had already 93,000. So we have 1,093,000 records in this table. Let's close it out for a second and let's open. If you see, it's taking a little bit. There are a lot of records on that table. So let's wait for it to finish the loading and then we discuss. I'm not completely sure in which mode is this, but we will check it now. So let's go to the model and check what data access we had in there, just to know. So if you see, we have clients. So let's keep it on client and come back. Because we are having it on client, it's loading every record, everything that you have in that table at once. And I think that Jean Paul asked, why should I use client mode? We shouldn't use it, right? Honestly, client mode works really great when you don't have 10,000 records. So that's depending on the scenario. There are applications that there are just not too many data. So client mode, it will be the default. I wouldn't change to any other data access mode unless your application start getting bigger. So there are those scenarios. So let's keep thinking about this. So we are in client mode right now. Let's clear the console, close this, and open it again. And guys, today I have my daughter with me. If you hear some Cocomelon songs, if you hear some Disney music, it's my daughter that is outside listening, playing or something. So I apologize, but I don't really apologize. I love my daughter. So let's keep going. Sorry. So if you see here, we open the list view and we have the query that it got executed. If you see here, we have 1,093,000. This is the query is bringing everything from that record, everything. And if you see, let's say that I sort by address. There is a small delay before things happening. So all those operations about sorting, grouping, they takes time because they need to go about the whole data set. So let's sort by name again. If you see, it takes a little bit. So when you're using client mode, you know for sure that it's loading every record that you have in the data set. So let's show now, for example, server mode. And then is when we'll start seeing interesting things. So from now on, all the modes are loading data on demand. And that's the most important part. You are just loading a set of your data. And when you are scrolling, when you are sorting and things, you are asking for more information. So we are in server mode, right? Let's clear the console. Let's close the list view and let's open. If you see, we have here, we are loading a few amounts. As soon as we start scrolling, if you see the console, start generating more and more queries, It's loading all the data on demand. But the thing about server mode, if you see when I'm scrolling, it suddenly stops because it's locking the UI. Until that data is not retrieving back, the UI is still locking. So again, let's do it. Let's paginate. And maybe now it loads too much, but when I move, you see, I cannot move this all the way down. It gets locked because it's locking the UI. So server mode, it loads data on demand, but it locks the UI. So let's see the next one. Okay, Let's use now data view. The thing about data view is that data view loads everything on one query, but data view doesn't bring you the current object. It gives you a lightweight read-only version of the object. So, and let's prove that. Let's close this again. Let's clear the console. And let's open the customer. Let's wait for it to load. And remember, we have 1 million something records here. So if you see here, we have the query that bring everything in just one query, but we also have this current object action. When I click here, and let's make sure that we have a breakpoint. Okay, we have a breakpoint there. When I click here and I select this current object, I click here. This current object, if you see, there is a data view. That in this case is XPO data view because we're using XPO under the hood, but if it was entity framework, it was being an entity framework data view. So that means that we don't have the current object right here. If we need to get the current object, we do object space get object and we pass that one and we will get it. But it's really fast. And if you saw the video about the difference when we load in client, when we load in server, and we load in data view was 4 seconds, server was 40 seconds, and client was like 6 minutes. The thing is like you need to understand is like you are not bringing the whole object. So that comes with some consideration, like you need to go and say object space get object to get the object. You need to, but this is the important part. You always have to design your RM. You always have, do I need to load all the data or do I don't? Or do I give them a separate action to do that? So the data view gives you that really nice way to do things, but it doesn't bring you the whole object. So let's prove now, for example, server view. Oh, instant feedback. Let's go all the way around. Instant feedback. Instant feedback is similar to server view, but to server, but it does asynchronously. If you see right here, we can move the UI, we can cancel, we can do anything. And if you keep scrolling, you still are able to move and you are not locked, but the data is being loaded in a background thread. It's doing in another thread, so your UI gets responsive. Let me admit someone that it was waiting. So that's a server view. It's the same as server, but it's doing in a synchronous way. So one thing that I want to add here, if you want to load data in a synchronous way, server view will be the faster. Server view will be the, and actually this is instant feedback, but it will. You have server view, instant feedback, and instant feedback view. For the synchronous, server view will be the faster. So let's do server view. So we show it because I thought that way was showing. Okay. Server view. So server view loads everything synchronously, but again, it doesn't bring you the whole object. It brings something that is called object record. And if you need the object, you need to do again, object space, get object. And last one. Instant feedback view. Doing asynchronously, but if we click, it also brings an object record. It doesn't bring a current object. So few things that I want to say there. First one, clients load everything at once. Application performance depends even if in the hardware of the client, because everything is happening, is have to load everything. It's definitely not suitable for more than 10,000 records or something like that, because it actually, if you see sorting, grouping, that takes time, that lock the application. So if we go to the other data access mode, server and server view, they are loading data portions on demand. It locks the UI, so it doesn't respond to user interactions, and the operations happen on the server, filtering and everything else. But I want to say server view, because it brings you a lightweight read-only version of the object, is the faster of the synchronous way. Now, instant feedback and instant feedback view, that's the asynchronous data access mode. So they also load data on demand. They also bring everything. So when you do pagination, it brings more, but instant feedback view brings a lightweight version of the object. And again, instant feedback view is the fastest of the asynchronous way. And we have data view that I like to say that it kind of flatten your object because it just don't bring anything. Let's say that you have, I don't know, customer and department. The department doesn't bring the whole object. It brings the default property of the department. It just brings the string that you need to there. It doesn't bring everything else. So it really does improve the performance. So knowing when to use which action mode, knowing when to use that really make a big difference in your application. And I know that, for example, in the Facebook group, someone said, yeah, but if you're not using client, you are losing some capability about I don't know, some capability of the grid about calculation, summary, and so on. Yeah, but no customer would like to be waiting 3 minutes, 5 minutes to load release view. So you need to see there is going to be everything always a trade-off. And if you want to load another data that is in a collection, you can put a separate action that put it in a pop-up. If you want to do some summary, so there are a lot of ways around it that it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be, I need to have client mode, all the possibilities, all the column choosers. Yeah.
Sorry, I want to add something here. Sorry that I cut you there. Please. And is that you really need to make a distinction between if you're going to use a list view just to pick a record to open a detail view, or if you're going to use the list view for analysis, that you need like the column chooser, summaries, and stuff like that. I think those are different scenarios. But most people confuse the idea of picking a record with analyzing data, or you want both at the same time. And as you said, you can put it like in a separate action to do something different, to open a more complex view. But to pick a record, I think you need to get, for me, that's my opinion, what it loads faster, because that's what the customer wants to see.
And one thing that I will add here, one thing that I will add here is think about a list view with 1 million records. Do you think that the records that you need will load in the 21st records? No, that won't happen. I can even give you an empty list view and allow you to search if you want, because again, for you to find that record, it won't is again in 1 million records the probability to show the one that you're looking for in the first one. That's not. So when a client asks me, I want every field in the column chooser, I want everything. I say, do you really need it? Let's talk about this. What do you use every day on your? That's what I'm going to put you on that list view. That's what I'm going to add you in the column chooser. But if you're only accessing this field once a month, that shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be loading that every time. You should have a separate action. You should have a separate algorithm, something like that. Jose, I'm not watching the chat, but if you please be seeing it, and if someone is asking
there's one question, Jose, what feature hardware are used for this performance demos? What kind of processor, how much RAM, how much memory do you have in this machine?
So if we're talking about my machine, what we're
doing this machine now, right now, yeah.
Okay, let's do simple. And don't, okay, right here. Let's see my computer properties.
You can just open Task Manager, I guess.
Yeah, but if we say we have
30 gigs of RAM,
i7, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Nothing crazy. I don't have an i9 with a big desktop with too many. No, and actually, I'm pretty sure this application will run even with I don't know, with less RAM. I don't think we need 32 gigabytes. I don't think that we need the last i7 or something like that. That's just because we do so many. We have been talking about that with Jose a lot. I want to have the perfect development environment that is not even in my computer. That is just like a GitHub code space, like it's in a server. But we cannot do that for the emulators that we do a lot of Xamarin applications. So, but
Fernando is having a interesting comment here. The main difference in performance think we detect in the connection mode to the database with several connected users in memory calculations, list view and criteria, without it on complex reports, blah, blah, blah. The performance in the cloud database, local database with 36 gigs of RAM Intel Xeon, XLM, or network database is very different. Yes, it is, and that's the main reason why we need to do performance testing and load testing.
The most important thing that I will say, and I think that it has been said 2 million times, but I will say one more. You need to test your application in the more close environment as your production environment. And you have ways to do that right now. It's not like, I don't know how this is going to be. You have Bogus that you can generate millions of records just to test a big data loading. You have easy test, you have unit test, you have test cafe. So you have all your tools. So actually invest some time and make sure your application, when it gets big, you will be able to handle it. And that's a really big, important part. If you skip that part, that is a recipe for failure, because when things start getting big and big, and you have a client in real time asking you, this is too slow, I have clients on my queue waiting for this, you won't have the time to do this optimization. So please plan it beforehand, design your RM.
Yes.
And I think, again, and maybe Dennis frowned upon us for saying this, but I think that XAF give us too much, that beginners think that, okay, if I just put a new class and new things, I have all this functionality. And then when things start getting, so we always say this to our students, think about this. If you have to do the query by hand, you will tell the client, you don't need this, you will only give the 3 fields that they need. But because right here we can give them everything, and we can do invoice.customer.continent.name, you have 200 million queries to the database because you didn't plan ahead. And that's one of the things. If you saw the video that me and Jose do, I like to see when we open list view, why are all these queries generated? Is this query coming from the security system? In this case, is this query coming from a controller that we are doing some weird thing? It's like, let's make sure, because especially with database in Azure, with remote databases, every trip to the database is a delay that you have. It's something that you need to take into account. And we actually show that, for example, let's do maybe, let me just continue. We are right here, and let's clear here. If we open here and I click new.
Sorry, Jose.
Sorry, kid. Yeah, tell me, Fernando, tell me.
And thank you for you explain. In this case, for example, in really application for performance, when the user and 20 user connects in simultaneous connects, is different performance, and when user is 100 performance for the connection database, and one user use recurring queries and recurring stored procedures and any load information recurring. Is different scenario stage when the user minor 5 user between on difference 20 and 25 user.
Let me tell you.
When the use connect database. For example, database SQL database in cloud is slow connection, and any performance is slow. A different local database in the server HP with the processor Intel Xeon and 64 RAM, the performance is totally different. In more case, it's not for the error application and not for the error components the express. It's necessary refactory model database and 10 database, table database, and create indexes for table for major performance in database.
Let me give you my 2 cents, and I will allow Dennis, Manuel, or Jose to give their own. But I will say something about this, Fernando. There are so many variables in what you say. For example, the first variable is, are you using WinForms? Because if you're using WinForms, it doesn't matter. Every user has their own client, so they are doing the processing in their computer, and it's just the access to the database. Are you using WinForms, web forms? Are you using Blazor? Okay, that's a different thing, because every user, the session is being so much memory, so many processing. So that's a different conversation. But not only that, let me go a little more in depth. Azure SQL, and if you saw one of the videos that we have, give you the query performance. You need to have some, if you're talking about indexes, you need to do some maintenance in your database. So the things that you access most, it need to be indexed. The thing that you actually have to use more, they need to have that things. Are you loading more data than you should? You shouldn't be loading all the data. So all those things taken in consideration. So I like to think about this. SAF is not, I want to pay the licenses, they will do a complete ERP for me. I just have to do my logic. No, because there are too many variables. There is hardware, there is infrastructure, there is your code, how you implement it. There is actually, SAF give you, in my opinion, best practices. It gives you take care of all low tasks like database creation, database columns. They give you UI generation, your data grow models, your model grows. You have a detail view, list view, lookup view. It gives you so much, but you need to put the last part. Have you heard this phrase that software products 90% of the time, 90% of the project takes 1 month, and that's 10% to tune everything as you want takes a year? It's something like that. It's like those fine tuning, you need to understand it. You need to know how things SAF is doing things, and you can definitely have really performance SAF application, and you don't have to take care of all those low tasks. And Jose, please.
Yeah, I wanted to add something that is a case that we get like really is common case for us, I will say, when the customers approach. They say like, we have like two different scenarios. First, they say like we're using SQL Server Express. So in the database, there will be a limit for RAM and CPU usage. So that's why I suggest to most of the customers, I mean, this is your preference, but if you're going to pick an open source database, maybe you should go with Postgres, because Postgres is not it's not a small version of the engine that you're getting. You're getting the same engine that you will get if you're pay. So basically, whatever you can do to improve performance on a paid version of Postgres, you can do it in an open source version, or at least most of the time. That's one of the cases. Like you have the bottleneck in your infrastructure, not in your code. Then we have another case that you have the bottleneck of performance in your code. And when you have it in your code, there is no amount of money that you can throw to the servers that will make it faster. Because we have some customers that they say like, okay, we ask our client to buy a server for the database with 64 gigabytes of RAM for 10 users or something like that. So you don't need as much if you write it in a good way. So it was a funny case because in that case, the clients of our customer were spending more money on infrastructure than in their own software because the code was written not in a good way. So there is always a ways to fix it. But most of the time, and I really tell this to all of our students, I mean, this is an answer that no one wants to hear, but you need to take a look to your code and measure performance and just don't pull everything. And there is another tip that I will do. Don't use XPO collection if you don't need it. Because most of the time, people assume that to get a collection of records, you need to get an XP collection.
Yes.
But no,
yeah.
you can use an XP view. Sometimes you just need 2 fields from an object that contains 90 columns. So in that case, you need to reduce the amount of data.
I think the main thing about performance, and the hardest part about performance is it's always a balance. And as you said, Jose, don't use an XP collection. Don't use an XP collection in a hot path where performance matters. Most of the time, it is easy, but you need to invest and think about performance growth and how performance relates to UX, for example. And I'm not sure, Xavier, can we switch to my performance demo? Because I think that really blends into this category right now.
Let's do something. Let's do something, Manuel. I will do the demo that I have planned. It will be
okay.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then we jump to yours, and then please, Roche, keep track of every question on the chat so we don't miss anyone. And we'll come back to this one, because one thing that I want to show is, again,
because I think the most part about performance is always the discussion. That's the right kind of thing to do.
Okay, let me run you my demo. You will run yours, and then we discuss every question. I already showed you all the data access mode. So I have another solution here that I'm just going to give some pointers about data loading. So let's quickly clear the console. I always like to clear the console again. We have seen all the queries there. Let's close it, clear again, and let's see. Okay, let's open the order. You see all the queries that got generated. And if you see, most of them, the first one are about store password, navigation state. Those are security systems. What we care about are the last one. We are bringing the product, we're bringing the order, and so on. So we have a couple actions here about lazy loading, create collection, create SAF data view. I'm going to run through all of those really quick just to see it in action. So again, let's clear here, on here, and let's click lazy loading. We click here. If you see here, right here, we're creating a collection type of product, nothing crazy. And if you see, there is not even, and let's make sure, there is not even a query being generated so far. We are just creating the collection. We haven't accessed nothing. What we want to show here, because the action is called lazy loading, is that lazy loading is the concept, the pattern that we're going to load things when we need it. Until we don't need it, we're going to defer the loading of that object or whatever. So we haven't touched the object now. There is no query. But if you see here, right now we're doing console write line, and we're touching that collection. So right here, there will be a query. And we have another query, another breakpoint here. Let's click continue. You see there is a query that it goes to the product table, but we haven't touched the order. And the order is in the product, but the collection of order hasn't been loaded yet. It's just a query to the product table. And if I click continue again, there is another query to the product. So you can understand how SAF is loading things. So if in your list view is loading order and product, it's doing 2 queries to the database. So let's click continue.
And 2 at a time. So it's for every product an additional query. So it's n+1.
It's loading all the orders, and it's doing also a new query to the product.
Yes.
So those are 2 trips to the database. So let's do something quickly before we move forward. I will close this. I will go to the order. I will take the explicit loading attribute. What this is telling you is, please bring me the order and the product in just 1 query. That way you only do 1 trip to the database. So if we run this again, and let's wait for this to load, and I will clear the console and do the same process again. Okay, let's close this. Let's close everything. And if you know, before it was doing two queries when we open the order list view. But if I open it now, and again, don't forget, if this is navigation state role, this is security system thing. Let's see the last one. If we go here to the last one and we check the from, we see here that is going to the order table and doing a left join to the product table. So it's bringing everything in just 1 query. So if you know when to use those attributes, when to load the data that you need, you can avoid a lot of trips to the database that will actually save you on performance. So with that one, we are already covering the explicit loading attribute. Bring everything just once. Let's keep going, and let's see all the other methods that we have. Okay, we have create collection, create data view, XPO view, query, preface, no preface. So again, let's clear this. And now let's do create collection. Okay, again, if you see the output, there is no 1 query. We created the collection is here. It's a XP collection, but even you say there is no loaded, you haven't touched it. So when we click continue, that collection is doing console write line to write the name of that product. But if you see, let's see the query. It's doing a select to the OID, the name, the description, the estimated log field, the GC record, the product. So everything that is on that product, it will load. It will do the select completely. So XP collection, what Jose was saying before, it brings you everything, every property that collection has. So with that out of the way, let's see a few more things. Let's say that you want to do data on demand. You don't want to load every property. You don't need to have everything. You just need to have a minimized version. I just need the name. Maybe I just need the order counts. I need something, but I don't need everything. So SAF data view. And one important thing that I want to say here, when we're saying XP collection, that is XPO related. It's not, if you're using entity framework, that's not for entity framework. Entity framework have another way of dealing with it. So I want to make sure what is the difference between something that is agnostic or something that is platform. It is only for XPO, it is only for entity framework. So for example,
also Javier, you need to highlight that that if you use the object space create collection, I think is the name of the method, you will get an I list. You will not get an XP collection or something from entity framework. It's an I list, which is a really primitive way of holding records together in general.
Yeah, one thing that I want to say here, we're talking about performance, not about data access. If we want to talk about data access, I will always have a different discussion, because the thing that I see that is most in my opinion, is amazing is the object space. Object space has an object space interface that interacts the same way, even if entity framework, XPO, or even if you do a provider and you do hibernate or something. So in this case, when you're doing a create data view, if this is XPO like it's right now, it will bring, if you see here, an XPO data view record. But if it's entity framework, it will be something else. It's an agnostic way to handle, to connect to your database. But let's see this example. We are doing a create data view. There is not even one query. Let's clear here. Nothing. But as soon as we touch that data view, and this data view is the same type of processing that SAF does with the data access mode for data view. Right here, I only want the name and I want the order count, nothing else. If I click continue, you see here, it's doing, bring me the name, and there is another select count from the order. So you can see that specifically it's not bringing anything else than what you are asking him to do. Okay, I just need this data, and he only brings you that data. So that's a great way to only bring the data you need. So let's click continue. We did collection, where you see that loads everything. We did data view, that is an agnostic way to bring different data. Let's do XP view, XP query. XP view, those are specific to XPO. So again, clear here, XP view. Right here, if you see all this is username, password, this is not related to the query. It's just a security system. And hopefully, I think that after the next meetup, that is SAF Blazor is ready for production, we should do another one just on security system. Security system in SAF, security system outside of SAF. I think that's a great topic. I really enjoy that. So right here, we're creating a object space of type of product, and we're bringing the session. We're creating a new XP view. And if you see here, we're telling that what are the properties that we want. We want the name, and we can even here have the sorting direction. We want everything. And then we can have those view records that only bring the property that we want. If we really continue, look this query, how beautiful it is. It's select name from product. That's it. If you see there is where a GC record is null, because of course it cannot be deferred deleted, but it's just telling you, I just need one property. Bring me that one. Nothing else is being loaded. So performance is being having a big boost when you don't have to load all those extra properties. So, and I like XP view, but I will say my favorite is the next one, XP query. Let's do this. You see here. Look at this. We create a new XP query of type product, and we say from the product query, that is the query that we create, just where donde el nombre, where the name is child, bring me the object. And let's see this for you just 1 second. You see, it's saying where name is child, right here, and then let me see if I can just, where name is child, and GC record is not null, when there is not deleted, bring me the name, description, ultimate is login, GC record is bringing everything. So, but why is that? Because we're doing selecting. So let's do one thing. Let's stop for a second. Let's uncomment this and let's comment this one. Instead of bringing the whole record, let's just bring the name, only the name, and let's see the difference between this query that is bringing name, description, ultimate message, login, register, record, everything from the product, and let's see when we are just bringing the name. In that action, we are just have a query that is completely different. And let's wait for it. Let's clear here. Let's say XP query. Look at this. Not there has been a query yet, but if we click continue, just name. There is no select name from product where user record is null and name is child. Nothing. There is not bringing description. There is not bringing anything that you don't need. So I have to say XP query is one of my favorites. You can actually, and you can also, if you're seeing here, we're using the syntax of link. So it's a really nice way to actually only load the data that you need. So let's click continue and say, okay, we saw view query data view collection. Let's say SAF get objects by query, because this is the other thing that I like. I and myself and Jose, we are XPO. I don't know what is the word. Fanboys. We breathe and live XPO. We don't use anything else.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think what by mistake.
Okay, that's fine. Let's click mute.
Yeah.
But I like when community, when XAFers unmute their microphone and talk.
Javier,
So
Fernando is asking. Oh, sorry, someone else was talking.
Either way, if someone else wants to talk, just unmute the microphone and let us know, or put a message on the chat. But I want to say, it's like, I myself am XPO all the way. I use XPO on Xamarin, on web, on Windows, everywhere. But again, what I like about XAF is that it's not ORM, it doesn't have a favorite. So you can use Entity Framework, you can do anything else. And this, for example, the same thing that we show about XPO query, if we use this one that we're going to use now, and as always, let's clear the console. Let's do object query. If you see here, we're using the object space, that is the agnostic way to connect to the database, get object query of product. And right here, we are creating a collection that is an id queryable, and there is not a query generating the output. So let's see when we actually go to the for each and touch that one. But before we do that, I want to say, you see, we're doing a where here, we're using link, and we can even go more in depth. We can do something like we did in the XP query. We can do select here, and let me see, the autocomplete. We can do select and only bring the name. We can do the same thing that we showed before, but that's the beauty, that we can use link expression and we can only bring the data that we need. We don't need to bring anything. So if we click again, continue, look, right now we'll bring, if you see, description or the message log, everything, because we're iterating the whole object. But if I here say select only the name, it will bring just the name. So it's a really efficient way to load data on demand. So let's click continue. And there are two last things, with preface and without preface. That means that, okay, before we saw the explicit loading, we want to load the order and the product just in one query. But the thing about doing this approach is that this is a hard code thing. Every time that you load the order, it will load the product as just one query. But let's say that we want to do it dynamically. We want to do it. Sometimes we want to load everything in one query. Sometimes we don't want to load everything on one query. So that's where the decision preface comes in effect. And let's see it in action. So without preface, of course, before. So let's clear it. So we have here, let's see it. We create a session. We create the collection of products. And I want to say something, guys, and this is our mistake. This is my mistake right now that I'm presenting this. Never do this. Just, you have to put here type of and the type of object space that you want to create. That's the best practice, because sometimes the creator space can mix and return an object space that is not the one that you need, like a non-persistent object space. So you need to be specific of, I want to create an object space that is type of product, so it can return an XP object space. So again, I should have fixed this for this demo, but we are all humans, so please don't do as Javier does. Do it the right way. Don't be Javier, please. Don't be Jose. So right here, I won't fix it right now because I wanna get this quickly. I think that is we are going further, and Manuel still have to do a demo. I want to discuss another link, and we want to move this forward. But don't be Javier. Do it the right way. Okay, now let's clear here again. Right here in this point, we have not nothing, not even a query generated. We created a XP collection, but if we open it, it will say not loaded. Nothing has happened so far. So I click continue. We touch the product collection, and it will do a query to the product. But you see, there is not a query to the order yet because this is actually lazy loading this is lazy loading. It's actually right here. If I click continue again, it go to the product, and now it's going to the order. So until you don't touch that object, until you don't get to that part, that's deferring that loading. So let's do the last thing, and I will move to Manuel to their demo. So let's clear again for the last time, and now let's do it with preface. Right here, if you see preface, we create a session of type of product, we create the XP collection, and then we have to create another XP collection for the products, and then we say session class info. We let them know where is the collection that we want to load on that preface, and then we do a preface, and we pass the product collection, the order collection, and the member info. But what I want to show here is like, if we get here, let's see the last query. I think that it hasn't been generated yet. Right here, all this is a security system. Let's click continue. Let's see the last one. What I want to see is that right now it's not doing as before, that it was doing first order and then product. Right here, it's doing from order left join, and it's bringing everything in just one query. And especially when you have remote databases, every trip to the database make a difference. So please plan for that. So
Javier, it's basically telling XPO the same thing as the prefetch, the attribute, the explicit load attribute is doing.
Exactly.
Yes.
But the difference is like here, the explicit loading is a hard code attribute that is going to happen.
Yes, yeah.
Here,
but basically, you're giving the session a hint. Please preload this record as a left join or inner join or something like this.
Perfect. So
get it in one round trip to the database.
Okay, so I don't want to extend this further. I'm gonna stop the application. If we can see, we saw XP view, XP query, SAP data view. We saw data access mode. We saw lazy loading. So what I want to do now, and let's just play quickly here. We saw all of this, and I'm gonna pass now the control to Manuel so he can talk about the fixing the N+1 problem. But before we get to that quickly, I forgot to say that every link that then is shown in this presentation, you can also see here. So if
also, Javier, we have a question in the chat from Fernando. If there is a way to get that solution from SAP data access.
Definitely. I will put it online so everyone here can access it. But again, Dennis can share his presentation as well. But if not, you have every link that he talked about here about how to see the model editor on Net5. If you see here, the support center, how you can see that it have some suggestions on the top and so on. So I'm moving a little fast, and we're gonna get to every question on the chat, but I want Manuel to present his solution, and I want to also talk about this before we go. This article from DevExpress about how to improve and measure application performance is really important, so I don't want to leave them up without getting to that. So Manuel, I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure on you, but please.
No pressure at all. I will set my timer for 5 minutes because you almost covered everything I want to say anyway. So
perfect.
I'm going to do a quick presentation for 5 minutes.
Perfect.
And then we can get into pure answers. Then it's like 15 minutes or something. So, okay, let's start. Beep, beep. Okay. I need to share my screen.
Go for
real
it.
quick. I need to share my whole screen. I'm not sure. I have no idea. Okay. So, I did this presentation a couple of months ago. It's on my GitHub. It's on GitHub. I have no idea. Let's think about it's like XPO. No idea. No. Here's the source code for anyone. It's like fixing an n+1 proof problem in XAF XPO. So there is the source code. I'm running it more or less pure basic Maple, and it's just a sample application with some with the same ideas and concepts and kind of solutions going. Why is your application slow? How you're tackling those problems in an XAF and XPO application. I am not focusing on Entity Framework right now. It's just XPO, but basically the concepts are the same. So I have a lot of a couple of demos as Javier showed earlier. There's just a couple of controllers that generate data, and to make sure everybody is on the knows how powerful this machine is. This is just a Surface Book 2, I guess, or 3, 2. So it's a i7 600 with 2 gigahertz. So it's not a awful powerful machine. It has some RAM, but it's not it's just a notebook. It's nothing really expensive server or something like this. So the only thing I want to talk about against all the stuff Xavier told before, because my demos are basically pretty much the same. So there's all the kind of stuff like client, server, mode, data view, blah 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 blah. But the thing is, there's a main difference between prospective performance and actual performance, and there is a main differentiation between where are the performance bottlenecks of an application. Most of the time, when people, and that it's getting me back to the one of the first questions, is like, what is the UX? What is the user experience about if somebody is telling you an XAF application is slow? I have a lot. The source code is online, so there's a lot of different options. You can configure your application, but the main thing is, why are people thinking applications are slow? And I think the main reason why people think applications are slow and unresponsive is the first time to interaction. So it doesn't matter how fast your application is. It only matters how fast your application feels. It is a psychological feeling. So your application can load in half a second, and people will perceive it as slow, and you can't do anything about it because people are like, we have like 300 milliseconds. That was 5 minutes? No way. I think that was okay. But the main problem is people think your application is slow if it feels slow.
Does the alarm for the 5 minutes ring?
Yeah, I can't think it was 5 minutes, but okay.
Come on, Manuel, come on.
Okay, so real quick, there's all kind of options. Everything in an XAF application, everything thrown in. Let's start with the slow offer. That's the dumbest thing you can do. It's like 5 seconds and it's loading 30,000 records, or no, 300 records, but afterwards it's all in memory. It's super fast. Okay. There's the different technique. There's the link technique. Okay, getting better and better, and I will minimize my screen right here. And what this is doing is like it should calculate some sums up. So okay, we have all the slow options, faster options, but everything I'm clicking is really slow. So I'm clicking here and I'm thinking and waiting, and I think it's like loading hundreds of thousands of records, and this is a local database. So that's not like.
Are you showing
you're showing the studio.
Nothing.
You can't see anything. You can't see the application.
I'm seeing your Visual Studio, but I don't see the waiting and waiting. Waiting.
That's share the whole screen. Okay, there it is. Better?
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. But that's a whole application. It's all the options that Xavier talked about. But there's a client server mode, blah blah blah. And the thing is, that isn't a huge application. And there's the client server mode and all that kind of stuff. And it's loading and loading and loading and loading and loading and loading and loading. But there's one controller in there that measures just the performance of refresh. So if I press the refresh button, it will refresh from the data source, and I get an accurate or more or less accurate measurement from the database. It's like 500 records or 50,000, 500,000 records. It's like loading in 7 seconds. And of course, that is a problem, but let's switch to a faster view mode, for example, data view, and now it's more or less instant, and it's like loading 500,000 records in 200 milliseconds. And the question we got asked before was like, the perception about feedback about how fast UIs are built up. So if I click on data view, it's like more or less instant. If I click on server mode, there is a delay because the UI and all the locking and all that kind of stuff, but the performance difference is almost negligible. So if you look at my blog post, there is all the figures about how this sample is produced and how all the queries are produced and all the timings and stuff like this. So it should be horrible fast if you follow through all that kind of stuff. But the thing is about perception. Server mode takes a little bit of time, but as you can see, it also takes time to sort things, for example, because there are no indexes on the database tables. So you can't calculate anything in memory if you do server mode.
Hey, Manuel, please let everyone knows that it's important, the database part, the database maintenance. The
Yes. And that's the thing I'm going to. So those are the old ones, those are the new ones, and nothing is a silver bullet. Your database needs to know how you want to access your data. There is no way you can sort and filter everything in milliseconds, except you spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times of computing hours or insert speed or something like this. If you need to set a performance goal. And that's the main thing you have to think about. But if people say XAF applications feel slow, it's more or less because they are laggy. So like in the server mode, it takes like 150 milliseconds until the page shows up. But if you compare this, for example, with the data view, it's like, okay, there's a small delay, but every record in this whole row or in this whole database, it's like 500,000 records. It's like loaded vertically. Every record one by one, but the hard part is done by the database. If you do really interesting triggers and calculations or indexes in the data table, in the database, this would be as fast as like in seconds. And now we get to the instant feedback mode. Now this is client mode. This is really taking 8 seconds or 10. Slow. Okay, every record was loaded. I have no idea. It's like massive amounts of RAM right now took by the application. I have no idea. Like hundreds of megabytes. I have really no idea, but it's like, okay, it's like 300 megabytes only for one table. And now the same thing, exactly the same configuration, but it's instant feedback. And now just all the records get loaded by on demand, but one at a time and in the client mode. So those two are like twins. Client and instant feedback are like twins. The only difference is like, this one is like, okay, it works, but the user doesn't see the data. Any questions so far? Are there any something I have to slow down on?
No, don't slow down. Just
okay.
Everyone who has a question, please. They have to reach out later on. You can put it on the chat. But I still want to get to the DevExpress article about how to measure and improve performance.
Yes.
Before, let me interrupt you for a second, Manuel. It will be just 30 seconds. I want to say thank you for everyone who is here in the chat. And I'm seeing the chat right now, and I recognize almost everyone. And I want to say thank you for being here. And I want to, again, I won't stop saying this, encouraging everybody. Gustavo, Genesis, Fernando, David, Keith, Adam, Jean Paul, everyone. Every time that you're doing something that you think that is really cool, put it public, put it online, put it there. Let's break all those myths that there are. You already break SAF UI is not customizable. Today we're gonna break that the performance, and let's break everything. And I have my microphone on, and because I'm talking, but my point is here. My daughter is screaming out of his lungs right here, and listen to her. If you guys hear that, that's my boss here, so I cannot do nothing about it. I love her. When she says something, I have to comply. So sorry about that. keep going, please. I'm gonna put myself on mute so that doesn't bother anyone.
Okay, so let's make until 8, and then we jump to questions. There's just one thing. There's like the instant feedback view and the data view. They are also twins. So the data view is like, okay, let's load all the data that is visible. So do the hourring, do the name, do the calculation, do it in the database side, and then just load every record we have. So it's like a select sum plus thing, name, blah. It's like with the XP query style that Jose showed before. But there's also the instant feedback view. It's basically the same thing, but it's like asynchronous. So the UI gets thrown up, so we know there are that. Let's do that again. There are like the UI is split up. There's everything here, and we need to recalculate on the database, and that will add a lot of load on the database. But it's like really smooth from a user perspective. And just to show you that isn't just a trick. If I do recalculation, it's like 240 seconds or something like under 200 milliseconds. And if I do the instant feedback view, I'm below 70 milliseconds before I get the first line of data from the database. So it's like it focuses on the UI's perspective. So this is the kind of perceptual way of performance. It isn't faster in any way. It's just deferring the hard calculations. So this is like, okay, it's there. Let's click, it's here. And there's the server view, and the server view is like selecting this kind of window out of all the data. It's like making a cut of all the data you want to show, and also need to calculate on the server. So it's super fast, but it's not asynchronously. And I think there is an async server view. I have no idea if there is, but most of the time,
instant feedback view.
It's an instant feedback view. So those two are clones.
So right now, let's think about this.
Yeah.
Client.
But it doesn't matter. But the thing is, it depends on the data load you have. So, and if nothing works, because you have too much, too complicated structure or something like this, go with normal procedures. Go with database views, go with CQRS, blah, 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 blah. There is a lot of
that's one thing that I want to emphasize or to highlight, and I will let Jose get to that, but database views, store procedures, all are being able to, you can handle that with XPO. So
yes.
Again, an XPO fine all the way down. So if someone wants to talk about entity framework, it has to be someone else. But for myself, that I like XPO, we can handle execute query, execute non-query, execute store procedure, everything that you need. You can map your data view to your persistent object. And I want to say this. I saw a question on the chat that is saying how middle tier we can affect performance and so on. So today we're talking about performance, but next meetup, I would like to build something like, I want to answer that question that a lot of XAFers is asking us. Is XAF Blazor ready for production? But that will be the next one. But we have so many more after that. We can do another one after that, that is security testing, and we can go over all the security system. We can do another one that is accessing SAF data and non-SAF app, and we're going to talk about a web service. We're going to talk about WCF. We're going to talk about XPO API. We're going to talk about the new web service that DevExpress is providing right now that I think that is really cool. We can talk about GraphQL, that we did a really nice example. A lot of things. So, but this one specifically, we're going to talk about performance. And Manuel, please, sorry to interrupt you. I will let you continue. But after that, I want to definitely go over the how to measure performance in production, because I think that this is a really nice article that we cannot miss this meetup. I know that we are already in the 2 hours frame, but if we are able, and please everyone help me with this, in the next 30 minutes to close everything that we have, we are good to go. And Jose, still, I want to give him some time to go over the article about how to measure in profiles. So please, Manuel.
And Javier, sorry,
we go to that one.
We are everyone cutting us off, but in general, there was a good question. I just wanted to say it so everyone knows about it. And is how middle tier can affect performance. Maybe we will not cover that in this video because we are running out of time. But we can with Javier and with Manuel like often. So I guess that's a topic that we need to write down for people who use middle tier.
We'll do another meetup that is accessing SAF data in non-SAF app, and we'll talk about the middle tier web service and everything else. So Manuel, you have 3 minutes. And sorry, this, but I will mute you if you don't.
Okay. That are the last performance tricks. Those are the really everything above here is like built-in. That's just, you don't need to worry. You just switch about the data access modes, and you have to think about the performance impacts in different ways. Is it like click to first access? Or is it like, okay, I have to do really, really, really heavy stuff? And now you have to think. It's like the, do I have to really, really do heavy calculations, not 12 hours and do it under 30 minutes? But that's what they said to in Star Trek. You have as it called, the warp engine is broken and you have 30 minutes to repair it. Yeah, but you have limits. And now if things really, really get tricky and you have to really do hard calculations or need to hyper optimize some lists, you can go the normal C# route. But there's nothing special about it. So you can do CQRS, or you can use, and I will show views first, because views is just using your database. Write a view, let the view do the hard job, map it to a table, do whatever you want to do, so inner join and the sum and all the kind of stuff, as you would do normal in SQL, map it to a table, and then go and just map the columns. So I didn't map it explicitly, but normally it's just like faster offer review is like faster offer review query. Okay, this is a different one. Okay, but you get the idea. Map this thing to a database view, and now you are ready to go. And it's like instant. And it's instant. It's like 100 milliseconds, under 100 milliseconds. And it's slower than the data view for some extent. It's like half of the time. So you can map to arbitrary views. All the data is shown the same. And the hardest one, and I really wouldn't recommend this, but I would recommend this to a client that spent 24 hours to calculate some calculations. You go with the CQRS route. So normalize your tables. So if I look at the CQRS thing, and this is not a best practice, it's just showing how to resum some of the connecting two tables together. There are better ways to do it, but it's the cheapest way with CQRS, for example, it's like instant, because it's like 11 milliseconds, because the data is stored differently between query and command. So the data gets replicated multiple times. This time it's easy because there's just a primary key and the name and the hours and the sum. So it's pre-calculated. It's like an index, but you have full control over the index. And 2 more minutes. Last but not least, that's the thing where the session prefetch thing is going on, and the totally unsupported way of doing things. I have no idea where I put my marker.
Hey,
so it's
Manuel, I'm authorized by Dennis to mute everyone after 5 minutes.
Yeah. So last call is like the totally unsupported thing is that the n+n query is like fetching everything in one query and in the client, and then recalculating it on the faster offer. Let's take a look, and using the session like a property bag to store cache data. So it's per every row we have here. Normally there would be one additional query, and we do all the query at once, all the sums at once, and it's like the best way of 2 worlds. It's like the client mode, but without having to recalculate every row once at a time. We let the database do its job and just cache the data for the actual usage, and then use the ID of every record. So every record here has a primary ID, and then we do the calculation. We do 2 queries. So let's see if we can look at that real quick. View output. Where's the output? There it is. I hope there is, yeah. Okay, let's do a refresh. I hope that works. And now you can see we do two separate queries, but those are 2 separate queries, and those get merged into one calculation on the client. So it's super fast, but it doesn't. If you have to do really heavy calculation, it might be an offer. Okay, that's it for now. If you have any questions about performance improvements, feel free, let me know per email or Twitter or something like this.
Yeah, please. You do it in Facebook, you do it in LinkedIn, you do it in...
Or in GitHub or something like this.
Or you contact Manuel.
Or on GitHub, especially on this sample. Especially on the GitHub, you can every sample I use is every blog post has the sources linked. So, or just let a issue right here if you have any troubles. Okay.
So, perfect. So we're a little bit out of time, but we're going to do like 10 to 15 more minutes. The last thing that we want to talk about the performance today, and this is really important. So if you see we have all the topics that Dennis already highlighted, but we also have these 2 blog posts, the one that Manuel showed about the fixing the N1+ problem, but we have this one. And I think that this one is one of the biggest one that we need to talk before we finish the meeting. And because this one gives you profiling tools, this will give you a general advice, it will give you anything that you need if your application is actually having performance problem. So I will allow Jose to talk a little bit about this, and he can walk me through to go over. But pretty much this is our general recommendations when you need to profile your application, when you need to measure the application performance. One thing that I want to say before we move forward is I know in our XAFers Weekly, I say that we have a big surprise to the end, and the surprise is simple. Martin Praxmer is here with us. He joined the community stand-up. He's really busy right now because he has a little migration project on his side. But I want to say that his software, he has 900 companies that are using it right now. So there is, at least that I know, anyone that has a bigger clientele, that a biggest performance experience for asking questions about performance. So he will be on the chat. Please, everyone, if you have any question whatsoever, feel free to ask him. He will be happy. He, Dennis, Manuel, Jose, to answer any question that you have. Please don't let this opportunity pass, because Martin is always really busy. So I'm really happy to at least have him on the chat. Please, asking any question, asking anything. We still have like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go over about these articles before we call it a day. But again, I always think, and I have said that to Manuel, to Jose, to Danny a lot of time, I wish that when I was starting, I have this place, this opportunity for the community to get together and ask this question, ask, oh, I'm having this issue, I'm having this problem, and I guarantee you, one of us at some point of our career, it has hit the wall in this same problem. The opportunity that we're offering right now is not that we're better than you. It's that we have hit our head on the wall more time than you trying this. Nothing else. It's not about we are better. It's just about, and Jose always say that, what I'm offering you is like, I tried this 2 million times and I hit my head on the wall 2 million times. I couldn't make it work until I could. And when I could, I can avoid someone else, some new beginner, to have the same road that they don't know how to do something. And we are happy to be able to be of assistance. I'm happy, and that's why I always tell everybody, join the community, let's work together, let's collaborate together. We can learn faster. So without moving, without getting too in deep on that route, Jose, if you want, you and I, we can discuss this article. Please, everyone who is on the chat, please, thanks Martin to being here. And if you have any question about performance, this is the moment, because there cannot be anyone who has more than 900 companies using their software that have not dealt in any corner case about performance. So again, Jose, you want to start?
Yeah, let's go down, Javier, with to the first one. I mean, to the list. And that is really important, actually, that the application behaves slow when you're trying to load some views that you never load before. This happened to me this week, actually. That's why I want to highlight this point, is that the runtime is not loading every time. It's not loading everything at the beginning. It goes little by little. And you can see that when you use the report viewer or the report designer, that it will take some time the first time to load. So in this case, this problem is not related to SAF or XPO, is how the .NET framework works. So you need to be able to distinguish what is responsibility of DevExpress and what is just Microsoft in general, and what is your responsibility. That's, I think, the best way to see it. So I have never done this, I mean, the answer for that, but I think that you have done it before, Javier, that you can recompile to have native performance, that you don't use the intermediate code in general. So if someone is having this problem in general, this is related to the .NET framework. So is there something that you want to add there, Javier?
No, I think that you say it all, Jose, and definitely. When I think that this is really a great article. If you read all the way through, it tells you about, there are so many pieces, so many parts of your application that you need to take account for. Like you can, when we say about the profiler, the XPO profiler, that is just profiling your XPO code that is generated in the queries. but you also need to profile your SQL server. You also need to see your logs. You also need to see if you see this article is really good. As time passes, your application will need some database maintenance log. So it's like you want to have a SAF to be the superhero that does everything. It doesn't offer you. It's in your side to do the last part, to make sure that the index is created and that everything else is going created, because again, there is no way to I don't know how to say that. There is no way that we can know how your business, how your application requirements. So it's up to you to know, depending of your application requirements, you can do everything else. So again, this is a great article that we can see, like, these are the recommended.
Javier, something happened to your microphone. We can barely hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me know if can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
I don't know. My headphones are not acting right. So please, Jose, continue. Sorry.
Okay, scroll down and let's go to the ones. I mean, I want to talk the ones that we face sometimes, and the 1.3 is another one that it happened to me in the past. Maybe you have seen my videos where I talk about the Salvadorian electricity company, and that was one of the cases there. That in that case, we had a web forms application like SAF Web in that case, and we left the log on, and we were logging everything. So the application became like really, really, really slow. And also the files were huge. So we got a call from the IT guy in that company and said, like, what is your application doing that is creating so many files? And it's because we had the log on in the more detailed level. So once you go into production, I will strongly suggest that you should turn that off unless you're having an error. If you're having an error, turn it on, because most people cannot tell you how to replicate the error. And in the log, you can see actually what will happen. I mean, the log, if you can really read it, it will be like a timeline of what happened, what was loaded. And actually, it's almost, I would say, almost as good as replicating the problem in the studio. So, but don't abuse of it, especially if you're having web applications where it's just one instance, all the users are in that instance, and you're creating several files, because the application will go slow, will slow down a lot. And
Hey,
I tell you, because that happened to me before.
Hey, Jose, can you hear me well now?
No, it's the same.
Yes.
I mean, it looks like you're like far away. Seems like you're far away. No.
Yes. I know
Yeah, now it's better.
Now
I don't know what you did, but yeah.
All right, if you can hear me, there are a couple of questions that if I was a SAFer, I say to Martin, hey, Martin, with 900 companies that you are supporting, are you using WinForms? Are you using WinForms? How much are you using Blazor? I will ask, how is the performance wise? I will ask, what roadblocks have you encountered? What can we do better? Please, this is not something that we can do every day. We have Martin right here today. He's really busy. Ask questions, please. Continue, Jose. I just want to say that.
Okay, so there is another one that I want to talk about, is 1.6. And yes, you should try to avoid checking the permissions too much in the security system, because if sometimes people tell you like, okay, let's restrict everything, but you really need to make sure like how that will impact performance, because with you, Javier, we have done this before. Like sometimes there are some stuff that are not needed, and you can really improve your queries if you check your security system permission. So that, I think, for me is a must. But the thing is that this is complicated. Because most people want a map. I should do this exactly. This is the recipe. Yeah, we can have somehow like a recipe, but you still need to take care of your own main problems in like what is your performance neck. Because sometimes we have in another case, and it's also here in the list, is I think 1.7, that sometimes it's also your network. It depends on the type of application you're doing. what we did in El Salvador most of the time were applications for the government. So in that case, we could not tell like, okay, it's your network or whatever. But in some cases, your database will be remote, even if it's within the same building or whatever. So you really need to make sure that your network is performing good. For example, most of the customers that we have in El Salvador, they use Oracle. And when you are using Oracle, you usually make sure that when you're doing the fine tuning, that if your DNS is resolving good and how long it's taking your DNS to resolve to the name server, that is another measurement that you can check and then try to reduce. But again, it will depend on your scenario. Most people don't have this scenario, remote database or so on. Most people is in one building, one room.
Jose, that's the thing with a performance goal. You have to set the performance goal, and you have to check what are the performance goals and where are the bottlenecks, or try to identify the performance bottlenecks.
Yeah,
so,
you're talking
as you said, in South America, the internet connection is sometimes slow or unreliable. Then don't be chatty. Don't use chatty protocols. Don't do hundreds of requests to the same database, and then try to squish down the amounts of calls to the server to a minimum amount, and get better performance out of doing one request, getting everything I need, or the other way around. If you have a really stable connection, really focus. You should focus on good user experience anyway, like with instant feedback mode and stuff like this. But if internet connection isn't reliable, then you need to think about strategies, and then it isn't about performance. Most of the time, if you talk about performance, it's like, oh, database is slow. No, most of the times database isn't slow. Most of the time it's like we as developers aren't focusing on the real user experience and on the real goals.
Also, Manuel,
especially on Azure, on Azure, and Jose and I, we have an example using SAF Blazor.
I was mentioning that.
And we did a couple of tests, and we thought like we need to get in Azure. You can choose the tier that you're paying for. You can use things, and we like example, like our client told us like we need to show this demo tomorrow. So okay, are you showing tomorrow? We put everything to the highest. Biggest database tier, biggest app service tier. We did everything. They did their demo, and it was great. Everyone was happy. The other day, I said we cannot keep paying for this processing, so we lowered everything down. So think about this. I lowered the database to the free version to the lower, and I used the app service one that it was decent. It was not the higher, and it was working perfectly. So the bottleneck, it was not the database, it was the app service. So again, it's all about testing. I cannot give you a recipe that tells you, hey, this is how you have to do it. You need to
There's one secret, one really secret. Never ever to use your full capacity of your development machine to perceive any kind of testing. If you do this, you're always gonna be in pain, because your machine is likely to be 10 to 100 times faster than your client's machine. So don't rely on your perception on any kind of application.
I will tell you something else, Manuel. Do you know this? Everybody knows. I'm saying, do you know? Of course, you know. The mobile Blazor bindings project that is experimental right now. So I've been working with that a lot. And everyone asks, how ready is it complete? And I always respond, what do you want to do? maybe it's complete for you, maybe it's not. But there are
Yes.
applications in the App Store, and Apple is a big, I don't know, a big feature that you can say if it goes to Apple, it's because it's complete, because it gives you a lot of.
Yeah.
So what is complete for you? So if somebody asking me right now, and DevExpress will say, no, it's not, it's in the preview, it's still in, but we have productions applications in SAF Blazor right now. So that's depending on what you need to achieve. Sometimes, yeah, there isn't, it's not ready because we need to get to this part that isn't. But for some other applications, it's ready, and we will prove that in the next meetup. But my point here is the performance, SAF Blazor, mobile Blazor binding is all about perception. What do you need?
Yeah.
And we can give you an answer. There is not a recipe that tell you, hey, you are good to go, you are right.
Is XAF ready for 100 concurrent users out of the box? Sure. Is it ready for 1,000 users? Yeah, you need to.
They cannot say that. They cannot say that because there are too many scenarios, too many things. But I can say that. I can say that. For my scenario, it's ready.
You need to think and take your brain and say, okay, here's the hot path, and now we have to optimize.
And also, Manuel, there is one thing that I always tell my customers, and I mean our customers in general, is that if you cannot figure it out, we won't be able to figure it out. I mean, if you cannot understand the pain where you're having your bottleneck in performance, and also don't start throwing money at it beforehand, because people say like, no, let's buy a new server. Yeah, you spend like $10,000 on a new server and the performance is even worse. Why? Because you need to really make sure or understand your application, your code. And also, it depends if you're coding for general purposes or you know the case where you're going to face, like for the internet.
There is no silver bullet.
Yeah.
There is no silver bullet.
Yeah, so in that case, it's like, you don't need to only think about your code. You need to think about how is your, what is your production environment and how much you understand your production environment. And one thing that Javier just said, that for me, it is amazing, is like how ready is for you.
Yeah.
So it also depends on your qualification somehow. Because for example, Javier asked me like, when we decided to go on production with Blazor, it's like, do you think that we're ready? And I said like, well, we check all the source from Developer Express. We get their Blazor module. We see each code. Each class one by one. And then I told him like, well, I think we can do it. I mean, they have their code there.
I always say to Jose is, of course, depending of what we're trying to achieve. If it's not too crazy, but if it's under the borders, I say, I'm happy with it. We have DevExpress. If we run through any issue, we have them to help us out to see where is the best way to go. So I'm happy with that. And one thing that I will say, because I have seen in the chat that they are not taking advantage of Martin being here. This is my question for Martin. Simple. You just say yes or a no. Martin, you have 900 plus companies using your ERP, using SAF. If you have to come back and start from scratch, will you use SAF again? That's the only question. That is yes or no. Will you come back and use the same framework, use the same thing that it has allowed you to get to that point? With 7 developers, it started with just 1 developer and now there are 7. Will you come back and use the same framework? Yes or no? That's the only question. Martin, feel free to put it on the chat. That's it. And yes, please, everyone who is watching the meetup, go to this ticket. This ticket is really nice. And I remember the first time that I read it, I saw that this is really, I don't understand anything that is going on here. I will be honest.
I think, Javier, that we need to use that article for the next meet that we have with Manuel, because
next Twitch.
Yeah, the next Twitch, because this can go really deep and it will take 3 more hours.
Yeah, I think we should do a whole workshop on that.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff like we can say from experience, like I said, like for the ping, I mean, you need to check your network, stuff like that. But all of those are different scenarios, really different scenarios, and most of the time are not even related to code. It's how you decide your idea in general. So with that, I mean, if someone come with, okay, my application is slow, that's the title of the email. But then you need to figure out why. I mean, if they cannot tell you, then it's a different question that you have. Is that you don't understand your application or you don't understand your code in general. So I think like we should put that, Manuel, on the back burner.
Again, I think that next meetup should be XAF Blazor ready for production. Then we can do a security system. Then we can do accessing XAF from Node XAF application and so on, so on. So before we go, I just want to say this quickly. Martin answered, of course, definitely I will use XAF if I have to do a big ERP for 900 plus company. But I want to show this before we go just to. We have a video that you can see it on my blog about the XAF performance. But let's see it here real quick and we can call it a day. Please, everyone, if you have any question about today,
can we get some 1,000 subscribers hats for next time?
Say that again.
Can we have some 1,000 subscribers hats for the next meeting?
I'm not sure
we need some party hats. For 1,000 people subscribing.
We have 800 something on our Facebook.
Yes, and I think we can make 1,000.
I agree.
Next. So it's 1 month. So it's the 10th of January 2021, and now we should have hats. So
I agree. I agree. We should have hats. We should have beers. We should have balloons.
A big party.
Because I don't know you guys, but I enjoy this. Actually, me and Jose, we schedule our second Thursdays of every month as a vacation day. We don't work. We don't do a meeting. We don't take anyone email. Today is for taking a conversation, vacation. I know we have a weird vacation concept, but we really enjoy this. So thank you everyone who shows up every Thursday to get this conversation. And I don't want to make this longer because it's 2 hours and a half, and that's alone. I just want to show this because I don't want people think that we're making this is the solution. I just run it, and if you have here, we can click entity, 65,000 records. We see all the relationships that have, all of these are collections, all of these are reference property. It's really fast. If we open, for example, this one, it even takes longer, and it's only 56. So, and I will have to say, let's open it again, you see how fast. I will have to see, we did a lot of crazy things. Maybe even Dennis or DevExpress are not happy with us, but we deactivated security system member permissions, we deactivated audit trail, we deactivated version controller compatibility check. We did a lot of things, but we make sure that when I click new, there is not even one query. That when I open the list view, everything is going. Let's close it quickly. If I open the list view and I go to the queries again, let's check for from. Let's make from. Everything. Let's see if I can see it.
Okay, Javier, we have a compliment there in the chat. Fernando said, "What a beautiful Windows Form custom application," and that's true. Why didn't we show that in the other?
I don't know why they didn't show it, but I was just want to show it that I don't see it here because maybe I have a few drinks, guys. This is not coffee. but my question was like, I want to show here. Let me see. Okay, I think that we pass it here. If you see this from, it's doing entity, that is the name of the class, left join location, left join country, left join autonomous community. This is in Spanish, but left join everything. Everything is coming in just one query. So if you know what you're doing, XAF can be really performance. And not only that, XAF can take care of UI, can take care of database. You just need to know how XAF is doing things and tune it to your specific requirements. So guys, think about this. You can have your ERP, your biggest application. Think about Martin. 7 developers doing an ERP for 900 plus companies. So more than 500 companies. So I don't have to say anything else. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to discuss in this. I'm on vacation today. Thank you for being here. And that's all for me. If anyone wants to add anything, please do it, but I'm done.
Elliot, thanks for hosting, and Jose, thanks for joining as well, and Dennis as well. I hope you're not totally snowed up and not in total COVID isolation right now. So
yeah, guys, take care, and I guess we will see you guys in the next meetup. Dennis?
yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
So
Hey,
it's time.
thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martin, for showing up.
Thank you, Martin, for joining. Yeah.
Thanks everyone who shows up. I always say I'm really grateful for everyone who gets Thursday, whatever time is in your side of the world, to talk with us about technology and about stuff. That is what we enjoy. And again, we, even if we finish the meetup right now, Dennis, Manuel, Jose, Martin, myself, everyone, we are always happy to answer any question. Please reach out to us. Please post a question on the Gitter. Please post a question on the Facebook, on LinkedIn. Let's grow the community. That's the only way that we can ensure that the framework that we work, that we love, gets better and better and better, as it's doing right now. Blazor is the future, everybody. Don't forget about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Guys,
Bye.
take care.
See you.